This is yet another day our God has made, and we've gathered to rejoice and be glad in it. I rejoice that you are here with us this morning. Welcome to Riverbend United Church in Edmonton. We are an affirming congregation, which means that no matter what, you are most welcome here. Not all churches say that, sadly. So we are grateful to be part of a church that values all people, no matter what. As a treaty people, we remember that we live on Treaty 6 lands and worship on Treaty 6 lands, and we honor those who have lived here and cared for the lands and had spiritual traditions here long before us. Today we begin a series called Conversations on Racism, and you're invited to join us for discussion about it this Wednesday evening at 7 p.m., sort of a follow-up. It's an important matter for us to be aware of and tend to. If you can't come to the church Wednesday evening, you're also welcome to join by Zoom. The link for that is available through the website. I invite us to worship the God of life, wherever we are, whoever we are, however we are. We begin with singing My Love Colors Outside the Lines, led by Marv, Ben, and Emily Severson. Let's worship together.
My love colors outside the lines, exploring paths that few could ever find, and takes me into places where I've never been before, and opens doors to worlds outside the lines. My Lord colors outside the lines, turns wounds to blessings, water into wine, and takes me into places where I've never been before, and opens doors to worlds outside the lines. We'll never walk on water if we're not prepared to drown. Body and soul need a soaking time of life. And we'll never move the gravestones if we're not prepared to die and realize there are worlds outside the lines. My soul looks a color outside the lines. Tear back the curtain, sun come in and shine. I wanna walk beyond the boundaries where I've never been before. Open doors to worlds outside the lines. We'll never walk on water if we're not prepared to drown. Body and soul need a soaking time to climb. And we'll never move the gravestones if we're not prepared to die and realize there are worlds outside the lines. My soul longs to color outside the lines. Tear back the curtain, sun come in and shine. I wanna walk beyond the boundaries where I've never been before. Throw open doors to worlds outside the lines.
As a community of faith, we share our lives together, and that includes celebrating joys and concerns of our community together. This morning, we've been asked to remember in our hearts the elderly who are in hospital and in nursing homes, care facilities, and we remember our health professionals who are caring for them in these difficult times. We also want to remember Griffin Power, who we mentioned last week. Griffin has completed his first week of basic training, has a few more to go in Wainwright. And that reminds us to keep in our hearts all of our young people who are undergoing transition in these days. Today, we bring the center of our attention to the matters of difficulty in our world, across our globe, for peoples of color living in areas dominated by people of pale skin. How do we as humanity find harmony, equality in the midst of our diversity? As a first step in our conversations on racism, we hear part of the creation story from Genesis. Then God said, "Let us make humankind in our image, according to our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the birds of the air, over the cattle and over all wild animals of the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth." So God created humankind in God's image. In the image of God, he created them, male and female. He created them. The creation story. It's a beautiful story, one of many across the globe, many creation stories, but it's our story. Made in the image of God, it says, we humans are. That is quite a gift, a sacred gift of life offered to humanity, made in the image of God, given stewardship of all creation. Not white or black or red or blue or green people are made in the image, but humankind is made in the image of God. What happened? What happened that we began stomping on this sacred gift of birth as human beings, thwarting our divine creation? What happened? Why have we split into tribes vying against each other for lands and resources, simply power, when we know so clearly that working together works? Is it our dinosaur brains bent on protecting and survival, fear of that which is different from us? If that's what it is that has caused this rift in our sacred gift as being made in the image of God, then we know a deeper call. Within our own depths, we know this deeper call. And if we can't find it within us, Jesus shows it to us by being it. Remember when he said, "I give you a new commandment, that you love one another, just as I have loved you, you also love one another." That's from the Gospel of John. "I give you a new commandment." You no longer need these dinosaur brains with that nervous system that cries out with fear and protection and survival, that fight or flight. It's embedded in our nervous systems. We evolved with it. It got us here. But we no longer need it. I give you a new commandment. We can renew it. We can live beyond it. I believe we know this call to rise as a new consciousness, one that honors our well-developed nervous system and keeps us alive, but one that keeps us alive together, living in harmony, not in combat, competition. We know this call to rise as a new consciousness that has outgrown our dinosaur brain. that claims our birthright as being made in the image of God, that gives us a root, a foundation of love, which moves out through this world, through these hands and feet, these very lives, manifestations of a beautiful array, diverse expressions of love, humankind made in the image of God. It's what we are. We've forgotten, we've lost sight of it. Here in Canada, it seems to me, we don't need much convincing that we're made in the image of God. That tickles me. But do we here in Canada still have some of those old patterns left over from our evolutionary journey of protection and survival and fear of those not like us? No matter our skin color, are we here in Canada living out of the old brain, or are we rising into the new consciousness? Are we perhaps somewhere in between where the tectonic plates of life meet and shift, and from that, new life emerges? Racism is of an old way. We have long outgrown the need to fear those not like us. Does racism exist here in Canada? Or is it a problem for our neighbors to the south? Desmond Cole is a Canadian journalist who offers the CBC documentary called The Skin We're In. He produced that in 2016, but then this January, he came out with a book by that title, The Skin We're In. Desmond Cole says there's no domain in Canada, in Canadian life, where racism does not exist. Is that true? Why is it, he asks, that racism can still be treated as something that's just someone's opinion? He tells us that attitudes and hearts have to change. And he says that only by being honest will we change. So we ask today, does racism exist? Does racism exist here in Canada? Do slight, subtle touches of racism exist within each of our hearts? Unintentional racism? Honesty will show us where it is. So this week, each morning, I invite us all to commit to rising in discovering any subtle ways that we judge others. Tiny ways we stereotype others. Those are seeds of what comes out as racism, systemic racism in this world, tearing at the fabric of our life together, eating away at our sacred birthright, humankind made in the image of God. Way in the beginning of tiny judgments, we start tearing away at the fabric of that birthright. We're invited this week to go through our days recognizing what we're moving from in an old way, and what is the invitation, the call to rise as a new humanity built on love and balance of the whole. It has to start with each of us, and it has to start with our hearts opening in honesty. Such opening of heart leads to new life, not only within, but across this world. I asked church member Peter Udeh from Nigeria to have an honest conversation with me about racism. So I sort of feel like Mr. Rogers in saying this, but let's go to the church and listen to what Peter has to say. Peter Udeh. Am I saying your name correctly?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Peter is a member of Riverbend United. He came a couple of years ago from Africa, and he's agreed to just have a conversation about racism. So, Peter, today's scripture is about all of us being made in the image of God, and I wonder, what have we done with that, and how do we get back to that being made in the image of God, and what does that have to do with racism? That's a lot.
Thank you very much for having me, and I'm delighted to be here on this invitation to speak on racism and take some questions. As a child of God, as a Christian, we all know from the Bible that God created we human in his image. And by creation, we did not hear that God created a race. We are able to read and understand that he made men, that is, man and woman, in his image.
It doesn't say only white people or only red people or only blue people. It says humankind.
Exactly. Mankind in his image. Somehow, over the years, by the activities of we human, we've gone far away, far apart from each other, instead of coming together and making humanity, making mankind more pleasurable. And personally, I have something I normally say when I'm addressing the youth back from Africa, where I'm coming from. And to properly introduce myself better, my name is Peter Udeh, and I am from the Igbo tribe in the continent of Africa. The same way you can say a Polish man is from the Polish tribe in the continent of Europe.
Okay.
The same way you can say a Briton is from the ethnic group, is an ethnic group in Europe. So the same way you can say that Peter is an Igbo man from the continent of Africa.
Thank you.
So, and I also believe there's a phrase I normally use to encourage people. It is our collective responsibility to make the world a better place.
Agreed. It's our Christian call as well.
Exactly. So, to discuss the topic today, racism, I want us to just have some kind of, for viewers that will be listening and watching on the internet at home, members of the church and in diaspora, we all know the definition of racism. There is nothing new about racism, but, for a few days now, or for a few months, racism has been the most used word on earth because of some recent activities that propped up in the United States of America, and everybody's talking about racism. And the question is, does racism exist?
That is our question. Because we're in Canada, and it's easy to say, oh, that's a problem for our neighbors in the US. We don't have racism here in Canada. What do you say to that?
Actually, my response to that is that does racism exist? Yes. Have I experienced racism directly? To some extent, the answer is no. To some extent, the answer is yes.
Okay, fair point.
And I'm going to give my reasons.
Good.
I've witnessed racism being practiced, but I won't say to me directly.
Okay.
And I've also witnessed a situation where you can say this is an act against a race,
Yes.
and I intervened.
Okay.
I want to just make a brief introduction with a kind of definition of racism, but we have different definitions to racism. So racism is the belief that a particular race is superior to the other. Is it true? The answer is no.
No.
There is no race that is superior to the other by creation.
Right.
And we are discussing this racism in the perspective of Christianity.
Right.
So if you look at the creation, God made mankind in his image.
All of humankind.
All humankind.
Not just you, not just me.
He didn't say the blacks, he didn't say the white, he didn't say the blue, he didn't say the green, he didn't say the Asian, he didn't say the Indians.
Let me see your hand. Show your hand. Both?
Both.
Both of these hands?
Yeah.
Okay.
We were made in the image of God. Having said that, you ask me, have you experienced racism? And I say directly no, indirectly yes.
Yeah.
Because while we define racism and the existence of racism and the denial,
right,
some race believe that another race is trying to impose their own race upon them.
And so they start getting protective. Yes.
They start getting protective, they start getting withdrawn.
Yes, both. That's
both,
right.
Yeah, they start getting protective and they start getting withdrawn.
Right.
When you're supposed to come and participate in the church, you say, no, I don't want to belong to these people.
Right.
Because they are not my
right.
race. On different occasions, I'm going to mention where I've seen it happen here. I was coming back from my office one day. I didn't drive. I took the bus. And I was getting to the bus stop close to my house. As I was getting down the bus, I saw a young black boy trying to go into the bus. And the driver was like, do you have pass? Do you have this? He did what? He didn't allow him in. So then when I got off the bus, he drove off. And I walked up to the boy. I asked him, what is the issue? And it was like, oh, I don't have bus pass. I don't have money on me. And, I was just skating, but I'm still going to go very far away. So I gave him some money. I don't know him. Yeah. I didn't do that because he's black. No. I'm going to give some examples and experiences. Yeah. Then I gave him some money for ticket to board the bus so that he can drop some dollars and move on with his journey. Then on another experience also, I was sitting in the bus. I didn't drive. And another black man entered the bus. And the same thing happened. The bus driver was like, where is your pass? The man was like, he would be of my age. He was trying to open his wallet. He was trying to explain that he forgot some ticket or whatever. I don't know. Yeah. Then the driver was like, get down the bus. I walked up to the driver. I gave the ticket, extra ticket in my wallet. I gave one. I was like, allow him. Mm-hmm. I didn't know him from Adam. I didn't do it because he is what? Black. Then I've also witnessed at the bus terminal when someone who is not black who want to come into the bus and politely, like the other young man did, approach the driver sorry, I want to drop at the next 2 bus stops. Please, I don't have a ticket. Can I just ride with you? The driver we gently said, okay, you can come in.
Okay.
You see, if you look at it from this perspective, is for me, is it about the individuals or because of the color of their skin?
Right.
Also, on the other side, where I've also intervened for people that are not my color. I was at the shopping mall one day. An elderly lady was I was on queue. You know, you wait for your turn, then you go to the counter, you pay. It was my turn for the sales rep to check my groceries and what I picked from the store. Then an elderly lady came from far away, like he didn't queue. He just from nowhere got to the front and was presenting her groceries to the sales rep to check. And you know, if you're the sales rep, you will look at me to see if I okay.
Right.
Then for me, from where I'm coming from, if an elderly person is standing before you, you don't question if he's jumping the queue or not.
Just let him go.
He has to go first, or she. And I look at this old lady, you know, I don't know her age, but I believe she will be above 70.
Careful.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I understand. So the sales rep asked me, do I go ahead and process the check her? Then I said, go ahead, check her. You know, I'm gonna wait.
Yeah.
Then in the process, I told the sales rep to put her bill on my bill.
Nice.
In other words, check her, give her produce to go with. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, the sales rep told the lady, this young man paid for your product. You can take it away. She couldn't believe it.
Was she white?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
She's a white lady in, you know, I don't know the age range, but she's an elderly white lady.
Yeah.
And I paid for it. She didn't know. She was surprised. Like,
right.
How can this young black man?
Right.
Because probably she had not experienced such before.
Right.
And what did she do? She gave me a big hug. I was so satisfied. I was so happy, you know. And that was in 2019, not like this year.
Pre-pandemic, yes.
Pre-pandemic, so we still have time to hug and shake.
Yeah.
Then she left. The sales rep was surprised. Like, I even allowed her to take my own turn, and I also paid for what she bought.
Right. Peter, can I just interject? That kind of specific individual action of kindness may be the only way, one by one, this is going to stop. Exactly. Is it a way into systemic racism? The whole system is racist. One by one, such an act of kindness.
Exactly.
It's beautiful.
And this is what we must be doing often, because like in the closing of this conversation, on one of the questions I was asked, what do we do?
Right. I'm
gonna also address that. On the second experience I want to share, where I also assisted someone who is not my color. I was taking my daughter, Kimberly, which your good friend.
Yes.
We
all love Kimberly, right?
Yeah. So I was taking her to play with a friend. I drove down to the friend's house. As I was about to park the car, a lady beckoned on me. I know, looking at her again, she would be an old lady. When I mean old lady, someone aged. That is what I mean. Okay. She was like, oh, I've been sitting in my car for over 3 hours. My tire punctured. I had a flat tire, and I've been calling AMA to come and rescue me. For 3 hours, I've been sitting in this car. She was crying. I was like, what? The rescue guy, the roadside assistant could not come pick your car, take you to your... I have to call the friend, because we just parked in front of his house. I told her, look, I'm going to have some delay. I need to take someone somewhere. So I asked the lady, where are you going? I asked Kimberly, we need to help someone now, but we're going to see your friend later.
Yeah.
So she was like, okay. I told the lady, come into my car, then I'm going to drive you to your house. I don't care the distance. I drove the lady, as God will have it. It wasn't a far distance, and when I now she was like crying, like shivering, because that was in the cold season, in the winter, 2019. Then when I dropped her, she was like, "Oh, I need to pay you for the gas." No, I said, "No, I don't need your money." She was like, "No, you need to take something from me. You don't know me." I said, "I don't need to know you to assist you. You are a human being. I don't need to know you." Somehow she left $10 inside my car. "You must take something from me." I was like, okay. And she was so happy. This is how we need to be treating each other. And in doing that, the issue of racism to some extent is going to be going down. And if I may continue, do you have any question for me, or do you want me to continue with the presentation?
So we're just in the interest of time. Do you have suggestions for? I think you actually were going to show us about
Yes.
some more examples.
Yes.
We just have about 5 more minutes, so.
Okay. I need to quickly rush on the time because when it comes to racism, the people of color also need to add value to themselves and appreciate who they are by not denying your heritage.
Right.
There is something that is happening to the people of color in North America, in Europe, that is as a result of racism. Right. Many people are giving up their given names, the original names, because they want to fit into the system.
Right.
Because the system does not accept their given name. Good and fine, I was named Peter.
You were named Peter.
Yes. And this is by my dad. I don't know why. The
rock of the church.
Yes. For whatever reason that my dad knows.
Okay.
And somehow it's working for me. So, and for instance, you will meet someone coming from Africa. I want to give an example here.
Good.
The name is, let me show it on this board. Let's say the name is Malife.
Yes.
And this is how this is how to pronounce it, Malife, which is M-A-L-I-F, then E. There will be E. So, because if I tell you my name,
can you hold that closer?
Yeah, sure. This is I need to put it correctly. This is Malife. There will be E here.
Right.
So this is Malife.
Yeah.
And because you're not coming from Africa, you might not be able to pronounce it the way I do.
Right.
So I'll now remove this because I want you to be okay with the way my name sounds.
Right.
Instead of saying Malife, I will tell you my name is Malif. Mm-hmm. If you say Malif, the name means nothing, it's useless. And for us coming from Africa, we have meaning to our names.
Right. And that amending the names, the changing of names to fit in, is a way of discounting your own root humanity.
Exactly. It's a way of you saying no. And I used to tell people that God did not make a mistake by creating us Africans.
Oh, that's a good line.
God didn't. And another one is this. You have someone, the name is, let's say the name is Ade Nya Ju. Ade, this should be J. So Ade Nya Ju. ADA Yanju.
Yeah.
So this is Adeyanju.
Yep.
Okay, and because the person is trying to fit in for you
Yep.
to be able to pronounce it,
Right.
instead of giving you the exact name, he will say Adeyanj.
Adeyanj.
Adeyanj. If you remove this U from the Adeyanju, the name is meaningless. So, you remember the day we were trying to name my daughter?
Yes.
I told you the name is Ugo.
Yes.
Ugo Unwa. And you now ask me over and over how to pronounce it. I have to put it down. I say,
Yes.
it is Ugo Unwa.
Ugo Uma.
And on the second time, you were able to pronounce it correctly. But if I say that Ugo or Ugowa or try to make it good to sound cute to you, I'm not adding the value to the name.
That's right, because then we shorten it to Uganwa.
Exactly.
Which is not her name.
Yes, I can also shorten it to Ugo, which is better.
Thank you for saying this, Peter.
Yes.
I didn't know.
Yeah, you can call her Ugo, which is better. But I would rather you call her the name because there's a meaning to the name. And for us Christians, we value the name. Our name speaks for us. If you look at Israel in the Bible, Jacob is Israel.
Yes.
So we have a lot of things related to Israel. And this is just few of them. I have a lot of names that people try to run away from because they want to fit in by denying their heritage. For instance, I deliberately put on this dress to this presentation, to this interview, because I can also put on my 3-pound suit. I can put on my blazers. I can put on maybe trainers.
But this is your African heritage.
But this is my African traditional attire from the Igbo tribe.
Perfect.
So the weather is okay for it. This is a sunny weather. So I'm not hurting myself, putting on something very easy and light. So these are the things we need to encourage our African brothers, the blacks. If you're in Europe, you're black. If you're in America, you're black. If you're in North America, Canada, name it. Right. For you to embrace who you are, the way God made you. And to wrap up, because of time, I believe we've overshot the time.
Can I just say that that's also the same misstep the United Church took with Aboriginal people by putting them in schools and dressing them up and trying to make them fit into white culture. It's the same thing stretched now. How many decades later, we're still doing it?
Exactly. Yeah. And you look at the Inuit, the people we call Inuit in North America, they are special people. And God made them special. But because of some human activities, it seems as if, and there is always conflict between the natives and the government. Right. So the solution, we have solution. First is love.
First of love.
Always. The first solution is love. The second solution is love. The third solution is love.
Amen, brother.
If you love someone, you have to love one another. Don't care about the race. Right. Like I gave you some examples. The people I met, I don't know them from Adam. I told you how I helped the white people. I told you how I helped the black. I don't know them from Adam. So if you show human being love, God sees. And God will reward you. That is number one. And this is our duty as Christians.
Our call.
Yeah. It's our duty. And like I came into the house of God, I'm relaxed. When I come to the church, I worship for 1 hour. I go back to my house on Sunday. If I have anything to do, I go and do it. I'm very, very blessed because I feel love in the house of God. So for the children of God, we need to expand the love. We need to make it to the extent that it will get to the leadership, it will get to the government, and that love will change a lot of things. That is number one thing as Christian. Number two that I mentioned here, as Christian also, we should be able to participate in electoral process by electing responsible leaders. Responsible presidents in whatever country you are, responsible prime minister that will take decisions as it affects everybody, not a decision for a particular human race. A decision that is going to affect a white person positively, a black person positively, Asian, Indian, the indigenous positively. And as Christian, you also owe it to yourself to participate in the process. In conclusion, one of the last points I made here is that for us, the blacks, which we are, they call us the visible, there's a name they use here, like visible minority. Is that the name? Is it visible minority? Yes. We should educate ourselves more and be able to compete. Many people in my color believe, oh, I cannot work in this organization, they will not accept me because I am black. Have you tried? You have to try first, right? And let them not accept you. If you try, they didn't accept you, you try again. Right. Educate yourself. Go, if you finish your high school, go a college degree. If you want to get PhD, if you want to do some professional courses, if you want to get skills that can make you competitive, so that when you rise to a level in the society, nobody can tell you you're black or white. You're a human being. So, and also for the blacks, because like what actually spiked up this wave of racism and government working to make sure the resolve issue is what happened in the United States of America, which, spread across the world. Right. I made a plaque card, which I believe I'm going to give you the picture so that you can give to the engineers in the studio. That's going to be, during the peak, because of the pandemic, you're not allowed to go out in crowd to mix up. I made a placard which I took to the Churchill station with very, informative content. I said something in one of them. I'm going to show you. I believe I have them here. Our blood is red, no matter your color.
Beautiful, Peter.
Whatever your color, your blood is red.
Beautiful.
And I'm going to stop here for now.
Okay, and that's a perfect illustration of how we are made in the image of God, every one of us, red and yellow, black and white. Mm-hmm. So thank you. Peter's given us some direct solutions that we can all follow through on. And as I hear, what I appreciate about what you've said is that I'm not hearing you being a victim. I'm hearing you saying, this is what's happening. This is what we all need to do to resolve it. And that is a beautiful balance that you're walking. So it's up to all of us. And so in that spirit, our final hymn is, Here I Am, Lord. I invite us to sing this as a recommitment. Here I am, Lord, to be a solution to this problem, to go through life recognizing my own subtle judgments of others and choosing to live as love. Because, as you say, we all bleed red blood.
Exactly.
Go in peace, friends. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
I, the Lord of sea and sky, I have heard my people cry. Oh, speak my word to them. Whom shall I send? Here I am, Lord. This is I, Lord. I have heard you calling in the night. I will go, Lord. If you lead me, I will hold your people in my heart. I, the Lord of wind and flame, I will tend the poor and lame. I will set a feast for them. My hand will save. Finest bread I will provide, till their hearts be satisfied. I will give my life to them. Whom shall I send? Here I am, Lord. This is I, Lord. I have heard you calling in the night. I will go, Lord. If you lead me, I will hold your people in my